a leading campaigner for Brexit. Very good afternoon to you, Kate.
Good afternoon, Julia, and I remember it well too. It actually makes me feel quite emotional even thinking that night, because just the crowds and everyone just so happy and feeling this was really, really going to change things hugely.
Yeah. Now, that's the question. I keep being told by Remainers, well, I'd say Remainers. Remainers, people who voted Remain, perfectly reasonable position. Remainers are people who tried to overturn the Brexit referendum without it actually being, put into action first, actually anti-democratic. They'll accept saying, no one supports Brexit anymore. They're completely opposed to it. I've yet to meet a single person who voted Brexit or campaign for Brexit who doesn't still think it was one of the greatest things that British voters have ever done and is proud of their role in it. But I'm not going to lie, it's not gone as well as I'd hoped it to go. What were your hopes, and why do you think it hasn't worked out quite so well?
Well, it hasn't worked out the way I wanted it to. I mean, I voted genuinely to get back to democracy to our country so we could take control of our own lives and our own future. That hasn't happened because we haven't had leadership. We haven't had people. I mean, I'm sure it's not particularly, mentioning Trump, but the way Trump has come in and done what he said he would do, what we didn't do was had that leadership that actually took control back and did the things. So we didn't get rid of we didn't deregulate a lot of the regulations that could have been got rid of. We tried to kind of play nice all the time with the European Union. Still, we kept all the laws that we had, and we had to go through this long process of looking at each one. And sadly, one of the big benefits still, of course, is that we're not actually paying into this sort of £1 trillion now that the European Union has decided since we left to borrow. So we're, financially, we're not directly involved, but there were just so many opportunities and things that hasn't happened. But of course, the Remainers, and I think you're right, Julia, I don't meet any Brexiteer who's pleased who would say that they would vote to go back in. What we do need is a government that is actually going to take the advantages that could have been there.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's not just, Keir Starmer, who's, Remainer-in-Chief, and as Shadow Brexit Secretary under Corbyn, actually actively fought against that democratic vote being enacted, which I think is, frankly, it should make him considered unfit for public office. You're anti-democrat. If Trump did that, they'd all be up in arms about it, wouldn't they? But I don't even think we had people who really believed in it from the moment it happened. Theresa May was massively, happily allowed herself to be undermined by her own chief negotiator, Ollie Robbins, basically, handing the EU the negotiations, upper hand immediately. Willing to pay off, billions of money to escape. We sort of tiptoed around. I'm not even sure Boris Johnson really wanted to take action. There was a man, by the way, who kickstarted, absolutely rocketing mass immigration from outside of the EU. Oh yeah, we were taking control, all right, but he didn't obey the actual, the actual demands and the expectations of the British people. And you should say, we haven't done the deregulation. We've added more regulation. Our own net zero policies are more extreme than the EU's currently. Why do you think there is still this reluctance? Is this just that we just have a Remainer, political elite? The majority of Tory MPs voted Remain. We have a Remainer civil service. We have a largely Remainer media as well, and Remainer academia. There actually, there are just so many forces moving against Brexit that even once it happened, they would still like it to fail.
I think you're right about the whole establishment, really, and then let's call it that. But behind the scenes, certainly within the civil service, there was a determination, I believe, to make it as slow as possible, the whole negotiation. So we, as you say, Theresa May agreed to this ridiculous idea where we went, where we had to discuss leaving and money before we actually decided just to go. And also, I think there is a hope amongst a lot of the Remain people that if they kind of keep saying, look how awful things are. Things are awful in this country at the moment because our own government, both the previous government and this government, have got an economic policy that is actually ridiculous because it's implying that you can get growth, by taxing people more. And I just still hope, I'm still very hopeful that, with the rise of reform, but I do think reform, and Nigel Farage himself, I think, needs to start talking more about Brexit again, and we might have to reactivate some of the campaigns locally that were there, because I do think that the Remainers are not going to give up.
No, I mean, they would absolutely love to take us back into the customs union and the like. And I have to say, if we were in a trade area, that was, that was kind of what we'd signed up to. We were quite happy with that. Of course, it was the political side of things that was creating problems for us. But I'm like you. The Remain, and again, I say Remoaners rather than Remainers, because people think there's perfectly valid reasons to vote Remain. And those people, the vast number of people who voted Remain and accepted the result, and I know a lot of people who voted Remain who then voted for Boris Johnson in 2019 to get Brexit done because they felt that was the right thing to do, to honour that vote by 52% of the voting population. But the key thing is, I do just think there are just so many people who are just sort of opposed to this being a success, and they talk constantly about economics. Now, again, they're under the illusion that everything's going just fine in Europe, where that Germany hasn't been just entered its third year in recession and is declining economically. So they're in cloud cuckoo land about that anyway. But actually, it wasn't about money for most people. The polling was really clear. What did most people say? And it was like same as you, same as me. The democratic accountability about national sovereignty, us being in charge of our own rules. But when people say it's not a success, one of the things I always say is, and I'm writing a column about this for the Sun tomorrow. And I say, actually, one of the key things for me was we did take back control, because you know what? When the Tories pushed mass immigration, failed to deal with illegal migration, pushed net zero, impoverished us, made bad policy decisions, do you know what we were able to do? Kick them out of office. Now, Labour are already way down in the polls because they've not done what they said they would do. They haven't got the support. Now, whether or not a split right wing is going to leave Labour in power or not, that's neither here nor there. The British voters get to have their say, and no politician in this country ever again can say, sorry, it's not our fault, there's nothing we can do about it, it's the EU. They can't, they're accountable to us.
Exactly, Julia. This was always the thing that the civil servants hid behind, and the government ministers hid behind the fact that it was the EU. And now they don't have that, and that's why the civil service hate it too, because they can't ring up Brussels and get told what to do. But I do think that the democratic element, it's our own fault if this country is going, not doing well. It's our own politicians, and we can kick them out. And that's a very, very important lesson. We don't have to go back to that, anti-democratic way where decisions were taken by the European Commission that we had no say in whatsoever. And we were kind of, because basically those people who support the European Union so strongly really want to get rid of the nation state. I mean, they don't like it. They want us to be all part of some soggy federal kind of glue that bring us all together. It won't. It'll make us... National boundaries matter, and national identity matters.
Absolutely, these people, they don't believe in borders. They're not proud of our nation's history, our culture. But also, one of the things I always found just finally it was so funny is how this view that sort of like that, the only civilizing thing in Britain is the EU, and have they, democratic values and liberal thinking, as if they don't have that because of us rather than the other way around. We've survived. We're one of the few nation states in Europe that hasn't been, taken over by a fascist government, or invaded, or by the communist state. We have a proud history of standing on our own 2 feet, our island nation, where we have been able to deliver individual rights and here and human rights here. We don't need lessons from anyone in Brussels about how to do it.
No, absolutely. And I think we're all going to have quite an interesting time now. I was out for the inauguration, and when you listened at the rallies of what Trump was saying, reality is he doesn't like the European Union. I just hope he sticks to what he said about some of the things he's going to do. Otherwise, faith in politicians will be completely gone.
Absolutely. Oh, always good to talk to you. Absolute hero. Brexit hero, Baroness Kate Hoey, independent peer, former Labour MP. Thank you so much.